Like to know about
I don't
the,
remember
when
the
you
Lucky's good.
the story when you gave birth to Eric.
Oh my.
A classic.
A classic.
You want to hear the birthing of
Yes,
Eric?
yes,
Alright, here's your story.
yes. I would like to hear that story.
Well, Tana Hoban was a child photographer and a very well-known one. And she also wrote children's books. And she had made a contract with somebody that she would film the birthing of a child. And
I didn't know. Eric was filmed being born?
No.
You're not listening to the story, Eric.
Well, this was the story of your
Birth. We're talking about the
Your
story of your
arrival
birth,
into
Eric.
the world.
So Tana Hoban was a photographer and she was doing films of people being born.
She had made an agreement to film a birth, and she talked to my doctor about permission to film your birth. But we had a party that night, a coming out party.
Literally.
And our parties never ended early. They would go until 3 or 4 in the morning, sometimes later.
The usual.
And so when the party was over, I went in the bathroom to take a shower. And I started getting contractions. And I said, uh-oh, I think it's going to happen. So let's call somebody. So
When somebody, you mean the doctor or the photographer?
well, we called this, we had to call somebody to take us to the hospital. And by this time, it was time for a what do we do? We called,
Midwife?
no,
Doctor?
Ambulance?
an ambulance, or
Shows up.
but they said, they sent a police car. It was a Friday night,
Mm-hmm.
and they sent a police car, and we got in the car, and Joe said, Joe said, we're going to Roxborough Hospital. That's where Kay was born.
Mm-hmm.
And we figured that we would go there. And the driver said, you're not going to Roxborough. We're going to Abington. That's the closest one. And we careened out York Road.
And was Joe there and you? And what about Kay? Where was she?
Well, she was back. She was only 2.5 years old.
And who was with her?
And I had arranged for our next door neighbor at Limerick Gardens to sit with her when I went to the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
But it was so, it happened so fast that I don't know if the neighbor got there or not, but we left and Eric was on the way. I was standing there behind a chair with my legs crossed and holding him back.
Oh, she did that with me too. Almost killed me. Damn near killed him.
And so what happened? You got there and
So we got to the hospital, Abington, and the police had me strapped to my legs were strapped to the car. And when they let the straps loose, he just flew out, and I was in the accident ward, and a nurse happened to be passing through and caught him. I know this sounds ridiculous, but that's the way it happened.
They say that, but you mean literally.
Literally. Literally. He flew out. I said he
Flew
self-birthed.
Because that's the terminology, is catching the baby. But literally.
He flew out and she caught him, the nurse.
And I was isolated, because I wasn't prepared. They didn't have time to prepare me. So I was all by myself in a private room. I wasn't in the nursery. They wouldn't put me there because I was not prepared.
And Eric was named after Ethel.
Yeah.
And Kay was named after Cole. And Lisa was named after who?
Kay named Lisa.
Oh.
Oh, and OK's outside.
No.
Well, how did she come up with Lisa?
Huh?
How did Kay come up with Lisa?
Well, I think she had a friend whose name was Lisa. She liked that name. And I gave her that privilege because by the third,
What the hell?
You remember naming
didn't
Lisa?
Just like she
didn't
said.
have a parent to
Yeah.
name her
What the
after.
hell?
So,
You wanna go out?
They just wanted a little Lisa
So
sister.
Kay, you named me.
Apparently I did, but I do not remember doing it.
Do you remember
Well, who
your
was
friend
I?
Lisa?
No. I
So
didn't-
Kay is named for your father Cole, who's spelled Kolman, Coleman, Kolman,
Coleman. No, Coleman.
Coleman,
No, listen.
Coleman.
Coleman, Kolman though, right?
Yeah, but not Coleman.
Pronounced Coleman.
Coleman.
But everybody called him Kay.
Everybody called him Kay.
Kay Rose.
And then her middle name Stella is named for Dad's mother, Stella Black, right? And then my first name Eric is named after your mother Ethel, who died right before I was born, and my middle name Joseph is named for somebody else.
Your
Dad.
father?
Lisa, do you have a middle name?
James.
And then Lisa is now, who's named by Kay for Kay's friend who Kay doesn't send Christmas cards to anymore, with the middle name Jane.
Which we don't know where that comes from.
Somewhere, yeah, named for someone else.
Jane?
Yeah, Lisa Jane Gearing.
Oh.
Right.
And your middle name, Jane, your middle name is what?
I never had a middle name, and my mother, all of my siblings had middle names. And once, when I was a teenager, I said to my mom, "How come I don't have a middle name and everybody else has two?" She said, "Oh, of course you do." I said, "Well, what is it? I never knew it." And I think on the spur of the moment,
made
she
it
made
up.
it up.
Oh my.
What was it?
Barbara.
And she said, "Barbara." And I said, "Oh, I didn't know it was Barbara." I'm sure it wasn't, but I think she just
How do you
manufactured
spell that?
Barbara.
A-R-A. Okay.
Barbara.
Sometimes it's just
Barbara.
B-A-R-B-R-A. Yeah, that's how Barbara Streisand does it.
So there,
There it is.
now you have it.
Now, Jane, do you mind explaining what it was like to give birth to Kay? The oldest, we all know the oldest is the best. Your greatest child is Kay. What was her
That's
birth
debatable.
like?
What was her birth like?
Yes.
She didn't have any particular problem. She was just a normal birth. she was born within a half hour after I got to the hospital. It was very good.
And that was at Roxborough Hospital, right?
What about
That was-
Lisa? What about Lisa?
And after Eric's birth, when they got word that I was coming with a birthing, wow, they came out into the parking lot with a wheelchair. And
In a gurney.
they made sure that they were prepared for me.
You didn't want to lose.
They knew you were quick, huh?
And she was.
All right.
So you had 3 mostly convenient births.
Easy.
You did not have a lot of long-term labor.
No, I never had long-term labor.
You gave her the worst pains, actually.
By being her son-in-law?
Yeah.
I get that.
Didn't you have a miscarriage though, along the
I
way?
did before. Before Kay was born, I had a miscarriage. It was,
Well, Jane,
after somebody died.
did they talk about miscarriages in the 50s? I mean, was it nowadays if somebody has a miscarriage, they say, "We're very sorry for your life," or whatever. But did they talk about it then?
Did who talk about
Your
it?
friends, did you mention that you had a miscarriage? Was it hidden?
I don't think there was anything significant about it.
Okay.
It was just something that happens. And luckily I was at my mother's house when it happened. And so I stayed there to recuperate.
At 501 Durham?
Yeah.